This is In Character. I'm your host, Gerard Robinson, Vice President for Education at the Advanced Studies in Culture Foundation. So, Louisa, welcome back to, In Character.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited for our talk.
So, for people who have not had an opportunity to watch the video or to listen to it, here's one question. How do you establish a sense of community amongst young children?
Oh, thank you. I would say there's a lot of ways that I establish community with my young learners. Probably the primary way is by being open and really focusing on relationships, not just with my young students, but with their families. Young students are often, when they're in kindergarten with me, it's often their first time away from their families. And so the more that they can see that all of their adults are working together, the better the community will have in the classroom. So I really make efforts at the beginning of the year to get to know families, whether it's through calling families, through FaceTiming with families. This was even before the pandemic. I would FaceTime with families, go visit families, invite them to come up and visit the classroom so that kids wouldn't be nervous. That way kids would already know that all of their adults talk to each other, which is such a powerful thing for a young person to know. And then building off that, we treat every day as though we are a family who comes together and we support each other and we help each other and we problem solve like families do. And we use that language. We say, this is our school family and we take care of each other just like you take care of your family at your house.
Great. So here's another question. What is one thing you want us to know about how important it is to educating young people, whether it's process, whether it's people, combination? What would you say?
Absolutely. So there's a couple things that I think are really, really unique to this age. And I work with kindergartners, so 5, 6-year-olds, but I'd say with all early childhood, birth through third grade, through 8-year-olds. We know so much more about brain development right now than we even did 17 years ago when I first started teaching kindergarten. And what the research tells us is that the number of connections being made in young learners' brains is off the charts, astronomical. Never in their lives will brains be working as hard as they are during those first 8 years of life. So really capitalizing on the fact that we have these eager little sponges ready to absorb whatever we put in front of them is the first part, right? Knowing that knowledge of what brains are capable of. But the other part is on the adults, on us knowing what best practice is, knowing what kinds of investigations to put in front of children to get their mind going, to stimulate them, so that they're not just sitting and getting information all day, but rather they're presented with opportunities to problem solve and to talk and to figure things out on their own, because children are so highly capable. I think that's probably the other big misnomer of this age. They think, oh, they're so little, they're so cute, the end. And boy, is that not the end. It's just the beginning. If you give kids the opportunity to show you, they will blow your mind at the way that they think and the way that they attack problems and the way that they see the world.
So you teach kindergarten. What attracted you to that particular age of young people? Because as you said, you could have gone first, second, or third. You chose K. Tell us why.
So when I was student teaching, I did a year-long practicum while I was at Creighton for part of a service and justice degree that I was working on. And so I was able to work with a pre-K at my current building for a year. And then the following year when I student taught first grade. So I kind of had both bookends, right? Right before kindergarten and right after. And the opening was either going to be taking a second grade position or a kindergarten position. And I thought, I'll take kindergarten. Why not? I jumped in. I loved it from the first minute I was teaching kindergarten, and I've since gotten multiple degrees, and all of them reinforce the magic of early childhood and the magic of how much learning happens at that age. And I thought, not only do we know these great things that kids are capable of at this young age, but it's also their first time in school. And I really wanted to be the teacher that started them off on the right foot. I wanted kids to have their first experience with school be a positive one, with a teacher that loves them, that encourages them, that brings their family in, so that as they would get older, they would know to expect that and demand that, right? They would say, oh, you don't know my mom? Hold on, you should call my mom so you guys can know each other. Miss Palomo knows my mom, right? I wanted to empower these kids to know what kind of education they deserved going forward. And because I would get to be their first experience, I could kind of set that bar really high so that kids and families could both demand that as their children grew up. It's been really funny having kids who go to middle school and their parents say, I have to tell you, middle school kids, they have like 7 different teachers. It is not the same as kindergarten. But, the parents still want that connection with all 7 different teachers that they had with me when their child was young.
So you're still teaching now. Talk to us about the learning environment for you. Is it virtual, hybrid, in person, or combination?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a combination. I'm in Omaha. I should have said I'm in Omaha, Nebraska. And we started in August in a 100% remote model where we were able to purchase 52,000 iPads with cellular service plans so that every child in our district, pre-K through seniors in high school, had their own device. So we were fortunate in that manner. We were able to start remote, and we had a shortened day for kindergartners. It would be absurd to have a 5-year-old on the screen for 8 hours a day. So they would be on the screen in the morning with me, and I would do live instruction with them. And then in the afternoon, they would have activities they could do at their skill level that I had assigned on programs like Seesaw or through Microsoft Teams. And then I and my assistant, my paraprofessional, would do one-on-one check-ins twice a week with each child. So they would kind of get that an hour with an adult, but they would also get downtime, and we would give the parents guidance. We'd say, this is the time they should be running outside. This is the time they should help you sort laundry. And we would give parents ideas of what they could be doing at home that would be reinforcing what we were doing. So at school, if I was working on finding matching partners, they could help their parents match socks, right, as they're doing laundry. So I did a lot of that kind of like organic, natural learning that happens. And then at the beginning of October, we switched to a hybrid model. So we call it the 3-2 family plan. So kids whose last names are A through K come Monday, Tuesday. Kids whose last names are L through Z come Thursday, Friday, and they alternate every Wednesday. And so when they're at home, they're able to log onto their iPad and join us for what's called morning meeting. It's just like a really holistic way to start the day where we're all together, and on my interactive whiteboard, the kids at home are all kind of beamed in. So the kids at school can see them and they get to talk to each other and say good morning. And then we start our day, and then they switch, right? So then on Thursday and Friday, I would have the kids who are at home at the beginning of the week. And we've done that for about 3 weeks now. And it's been a learning curve. It's really hard because kindergarten is not a world of social distance. If you've ever been around a 5-year-old, they have no idea of personal space. And so trying to teach these little ones what it means to stay 6 feet apart, and that they don't get to share, right? In kindergarten, we share your toys. If your toy's broken, share it with a friend. We can't share toys right now. I'm a huge advocate for play in schools. And we, prior to this, had great play, really high quality, purposeful play happening. And it's not right now. They have to play by themselves, which breaks your heart. Again, because of COVID, we have to just be really, really safe. And so the plus side is I have really small numbers. Today I had 7 kids, and on Thursday, Friday, I'll have 11 kids, right? So it's a really nice small class size, and I have a full-time assistant with me. So I'm really getting to bond with the kids on the days that they're with me and really get to dig deep with them. But it's hard because it's an unnatural world that we're all living in. And as adults, it's hard for us to accept it. It's especially hard for a 5-year-old to accept it, to understand that this is the way that it is now and it won't be this way forever. But you can't play with your friends and you can't share toys and you can't hug each other like they like to do. So we're trying to really teach kiddos that they can handle tough things and that things will get better, and that, boy, are we so smart and so strong for learning these new ideas that nobody even knew about 6 months ago.
What would you say to fellow kindergarten teachers across the country, even lawmakers and philanthropists who are trying to figure something different so that when we arrive in October of next year, maybe things will look different, maybe they won't? What are your recommendations based upon what you've learned over the last 6 months?
Well, I think the first thing that we need to do is really understand the magic of early childhood. We need to understand that it is a stage in development that cannot and should not be rushed. We have to honor the time and space that we have with these kiddos as 5-year-olds and not rush them on to be first graders or second graders or third graders or seniors. We really have to honor them for what they are. And we really have to understand what's best for kids. It's best that they talk a lot. It's best that they share. It's best that we teach them to be independent and we let children solve their own problems rather than the adults solving them for them so we can race them through and keep moving them along. They're not pieces in a machine for a factory. They are little humans. And so they should be treated as such. We really have to honor what these kids bring to us. And I think we're learning a lot from this pandemic. I think we're really learning the importance of bringing in the whole family. During my remote teaching, I would have family meetings every day. So as we would end and say goodbye, I'd say, go get your grown up, whoever's with you. And sometimes it was a high school sibling. Sometimes it was a daycare provider. Sometimes it was a grandmother or a parent if they were able to not be working. And we would come to the screen for 5 minutes. And I would just say, okay, here's what I know about today. What questions do you have? Just really informal. And it was really great to empower parents and have parents ask these really higher level questions, saying things like, well, I really want my child to make sure that they're making friends. What ideas do you have for them to make friends with their classmates while we're on remote learning? And so teaching parents how to set up virtual play dates where kids could get together and they could draw pictures and they could show their friend and their friend could do the same on their side of the screen. I really think that going forward, we're going to understand how important it is that families are involved in every step of what we're doing and really being fully transparent with parents and asking for feedback. Too often in education, we tell parents, get them to bed on time, practice their letters, make sure they're A, B, C, D, but we don't often ask for feedback. And we don't say, what do you know? Or what would you like to see? Or what are you noticing as you're observing me teach all day, right? That was a really vulnerable part of teaching remotely, knowing that anybody could be on the other side of the screen watching me make mistakes as I'm learning this new technology. But because I've been at my school for 17 years, I felt comfortable saying, okay, how did you guys think that that worked? What could I do differently? What is working for you? What do you want to learn more of? And that was a really great way to find out that parents wanted me to make videos of how to access things on an iPad. So just really understanding that as we go forward, it can't be a teacher by herself in the classroom teaching or a school by themselves doing what they're doing. It really has to be a community that wraps its arms around our young children and comes together for them.
Your part about the importance of family and the holistic approach is something that at the Institute for Advanced Studies in Culture at UVA that we support. In fact, in a national survey that we conducted with 3,000 parents and 3,000 teens, we asked a number of questions to figure out how do we basically create teenagers who will become adults to be involved. And you're showing us that conversation begins long before high school. It begins in early childhood education. So Louisa, thank you so much for your intelligence, for your energy. And I've had a chance to travel to Omaha. I was at the Little League World Series, not last year, but the year before. And there's a lot of great things going on in that city and a lot of challenges. But having someone like you there is going to move everything in the right direction. So thank you so much for joining me at In Character.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.